You can see everything.
Corners, exactly what you're going to say. Because you can see around corners.
Hey YouTube. Old drop saw blades. Now, this isn't the most original thing, but I want to make a knife. I've seen a lot of other people do it, and I've wanted to have a go. I've collected most of the materials, I think, so nothing left then have a crack. So I'm going to be limited to these 305mm ones. I know you get a lot bigger, make a lot better stuff. If you've seen my mini heat treating forge video that I made, you can see that I've already sliced this one and I did a test. I was planning on making a hatchet, well, like a meat cleaver size hatchet type deal, but I figured for the first one, should just have a go at making a regular old knife. So I'll just sketch something out, and if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. We'll see what happens. A little bit of inspiration. So there we have it. Very rough, very, you know, rough. So, but it is what it is. I'm gonna chop it out roughly, and we're gonna go over to the belt sander and we're gonna shape it. So to cut the blade out, I just used the regular 125mm grinder. I just used my cheap Ryobi because the Makita's currently got a dust shroud on it for doing concrete. And these Ryobis, they only cost like 50 bucks, but they go sweet. I got a 1mm blade on it just to help cut through. Like, this steel is a lot harder than normal steel, but you're not going to find yourself going through way more blades than you expect or anything. It still cuts, it's still steel, you know. And then I just gave it a quick shape up with the flat disc, just to get rid of burrs, whatever you want. So this is actually my first time using this belt sander to actually make a finished product. So a lot of experimenting was done here before I really found out how to use it to get better results, what was good, what was bad, just in general. The few things I do like is once you put on some nice coarse grit, you get good results. Really gets rid of, I put about 80 grit on this and it was just eating through the material real quickly, and then I find it up with some lighter grits after that. The main letdown I have is the one bevel curve. It's got the radius of the die that it's spinning on the wheel. It's quite big, so you know, it's not the best for getting inside grooves and whatnot, but it works quite well, and I was managed to get quite some nice form factors going, so not all was lost. I kept a bucket of water on standby just to keep it cool and the sandpaper a little bit wet as I was going. It just makes it easier to handle, and I feel like I was getting a better result. So all in all, pretty happy with this sanding machine, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. So after I was pretty much done with the sander, this was my finished result. You can see there's quite some deep scratches in there still, but I'm going to have to work them out later. But over and all, the shape and the feel and the bevel is all feeling quite good before I temper it. Next step was just to drill a couple of holes for the aluminium dowels that I was going to be chucking in later. This is actually a lot harder than I expected it to be. The steel was a lot harder for the drill bit than I was expecting. I thought after all the grinding and the sanding and stuff, it would have been quite, weakened, but it still took quite a while, and I had to use a bit of fluid on it just to get the drill bit through. Probably sacrifice this drill bit. I'll have to give it a sharpen up later, but I got through in the end. Next step was to crank out the mini forge and heat up the blade, get it real nice, red, cherry hot. I had a magnet on standby to double check it, and I went down and just bought some canola oil for the quenching. But somewhere along the line here, I lost the rest of the footage. I was originally running with just the one burner in the mini forge, but I found the thick of the blade, it wasn't quite hot enough, so I've actually ended up putting 2 more burners into the forge, and now it gets a lot hotter. These runs here, pretty much all I was doing was normalizing it because I couldn't get it to the appropriate heat needed for quenching. But when I added 2 more matte gas burners on the other side, it gets really hot really quick. The whole thing's glowing red, and it's a lot more successful, whereas this, it was taking me a long time to get it up to heat, and I could only spread the heat out over, half of the knife, not the whole knife. So any quench I would get would be half. The blade would be hardened, the rest of the blade wouldn't be quite hardened properly. But not to worry, I wish I still had that footage. You'll probably see this forge again later, but you're just going to have to trust me that with the 2 new burners, it runs really well. So after I got rid of the brittleness of the knife in the oven, I went through the appropriate cycles, a couple of hours each time, and let it cool down. It was time to give it a buff up and really clean it up. I decided to use the air orbital sander just to save some grunt work, and with the stock steel I've got, the knife's only going to be such quality anyway, so any chance to skip a step was taken. Now with the orbital sander, I did cycle through the grits again. I went from 80 to 120 to 320 to 600. Then I ran out of pads that were fine enough, so I actually used spray adhesive and fixed down some grits. I went 800, 1200, and all the way down to 2000 with this. The tape only held it up for a little while, and then the grit wanted to come off the homemade job, but it did the job, and we got it right down to quite a good finish. The finish was always going to be better if we did it by hand and we kept the direction the same and we didn't mess around. Because this drop saw blade has had a hard life of cutting steel, it was always going to have scratches that we needed to get out. Next step was just to take it over the polishing wheel. I grabbed this one from Super Cheap Auto. It's nothing special. I just chucked it on the side of my bench grinder. I've got one of the cheapest bench grinders you can buy in the market, so if you've got a bench grinder, it can handle a polisher. And it's simple as you just go from dark to light in the compounds, and you go from coarse to fluffy on the wheel. You can find instructions anywhere. You really just follow your nose, and you'll be amazed what results you can get really quickly with this thing. Again, it's just a labor saver. The results unreal, and just after maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes of polishing total, 6-7 minutes on each wheel, we could see around corners with this thing. I'm pretty sure with a polishing wheel like this, it's all up to you. Whatever prep work you put into it beforehand with sanding, how fine you go with your grits, how religious you are with it, and how each grit you make sure you do it properly. Once you hit the polishing wheel, you're going to get nothing but good results. There's no way to stuff it up. There's no skill, there's no trick. All it is patience and determination. See, I skipped a few steps. We used the orbital sander and stuff, but we still got good results. So if you went meticulously with this, I think your results would be unreal, just unreal. And here you can see the end result after the buff. It's shiny as, it still has some compound on it, but you can see reflections, you can see around the corner, and it's finally starting to look like a real knife. What we've got left to do now is throw the handle on it and do some sharpening, but that is going to be in a video that I'll link to in the end screen here. I'm uploading it at the same time as this one. I just wanted to break them apart, There was too much footage just for the one video. So click this end screen. You won't find it anywhere else but through watching this video first. There's, I'm going to list it, but it's not going to be pushed out to the world. So this is the only video you see. If you want to see the second half, you're going to have to click the end screen.